story. For my own part, I need to transition more to making sure that my constituents have the resources that they need going forward. We have obviously seen a lot of stumbling blocks and obstruction in this particular investigation. Probably one of the worst investigations I've seen just at about any crime scene in the last, I don't know how many years, certainly in the state of Texas and beyond. I don't put that on anybody in particular. I put it into some of the failures that we're seeing and that we have seen and you've experienced right along with me. First, I want to talk to you a little bit about the governor's special committee. Then I want to talk to you a little bit about the mental health issues that are facing this community going forward. And lastly, I'll get into the technical, some of the problems that occurred, the systemic and human error that occurred in this particular investigation that I think that you'll find new evidence that I've uncovered. And I know that that's what you're most concerned with. Let me tell you that for the people, if there's any newspaper folks here from Uvalde, we will be opening our district office here on Monday. Carlos Lopez from your community will be our...
He's holding a press conference there to demand that DPS report about the school shooting. Let's listen in.
Going forward, specifically that we maximize the victim assistance grants that are available through local, state, and federal authorities. It's not enough that we give people the expenses that they turn over, but we have to give them the maximum amount of money that they can get under these programs so that they can move forward. It is simply not fair that we ask mom and dad to go back to work after they bury their children. And so with that, I'll begin with Governor Abbott, as you know, yesterday called a special committee to do much of the same analysis that he's done in the past, investigate school safety, investigate firearm safety. I'm not entirely sure what that means. Investigate protocols. We've seen this show before from Greg Abbott, the same round tables that he did after Sutherland Springs, the same recommendations that he issued after El Paso, and the same concerns that were levied after Santa Fe. We've seen this show over and over again, and yet again, he has refused to do the right thing, which means getting us into a special session. The state of Texas meets once every other year, odd-numbered years, and we meet for 5 months. In the 18-month interim, the 19-month interim, he can call us back at any time for a...
We have been listening to State Senator Roland Gutierrez in Uvalde. We do have a crew at that scene, and we'll hear from them later in our afternoon newscasts. We're going to return, actually, to Senator Gutierrez. Let's continue to listen in.
What he did was he decided to do another blue ribbon committee. We've seen where that has got us in the past, and I expect that we'll see much of the same going forward. Now, last night, the Lieutenant Governor created his committee, and he excluded me from that process. Now listen, a committee that's not going to be able to do much of anything, I don't need to be too much of a part of, but I was assured by the governor that I'll be allowed in and so on to ask questions that I need to ask. I don't blame him for honoring a specific request of the governor, but I do consider it a slap in the face to the people of Uvalde. They didn't have their representative there. A slap in the face to the people of El Paso, whose senator is not going to be engaged in that dialogue either. And the people of Santa Fe near Houston, whose Republican senator was also not invited to those particular special committee hearings. The facts are that there are 8 Republicans on that committee and 3 Democrats. 3 of those Republican members are recipients of NRA A+ rating awards. Greg Abbott, like those members, know, like you know, exactly what happened here. They know exactly what system failure happened here, what human failure happened here, and they know what policy legislative failure happened here. We all have the knowledge we need. What we lack is a governor with the fortitude to do the right thing on a problem that is staring him square in the face. Leadership is doing the right thing regardless of the fault. Clearly in Texas, over 6 and now 7 massacres, we have a lack of leadership at our Texas Capitol. When my Republican constituents call me and ask for common sense gun solutions like raising the age from 18 to 21. I tell them, call the guy you vote for, Greg Abbott. And I urge you to do more of that. We have 2 Republicans, one in the House, one in the Senate, that have called for a special session. Jeff Leach, high-ranking House member. Kel Seliger in the Senate, who's called for it. So we have bicameral, bipartisan support for a special session, not a special committee. And yet here we are, standing in place as we did after Santa Fe and Sutherland Springs and El Paso and Midland, Odessa, doing the same roundtable discussions, leading to no solutions. We have a senator in Ted Cruz that keeps talking about the one-door policy. I'm pretty sure you all know how ridiculous that is, and I'm pretty sure our local fire marshals will have something to say about that. The fact is, we don't need Greg Abbott to do anything. He needs to do one thing, and that's call us back into that building. He doesn't even need to sign the legislation. He could just let it become law and blame it on us. Today marks 74 days. 74 days from the beginning of our school start. That's one day closer to our children not getting the help that they need in their schools, not getting the assurance and the safety and the reassurance going forward. As to the $2 million that I've asked for this community, I have asked 48 hours after this incident occurred for Greg Abbott to fund the Community Health Development Incorporated Clínica del Barrio, a clinic here in the barrio that serves 11,000 of the people of Uvalde. He has not only not honored that commitment, he has not even called to discuss it. In stark contrast, the Lieutenant Governor called me immediately to offer his condolences. I have been working with the Attorney General Ken Paxton on how to make sure that we get the most of our victim assistance programs to these families, and we'll continue to work with the Attorney General's office to make sure that happens. We're not going away. We're not going to let these kids be forgotten. And we're not going to let Greg Abbott run out this clock and wait till you all leave this beautiful town. I urge you to keep this message going forward, and I urge you to keep having the people that watch your media networks calling the governor's office and the lieutenant governors and asking them for the most modicum, the minimum of gun sense solutions. Because now I'm going to get to the third thing, and the thing that I know you want to hear about most, which is the failures that happen here. My job as a state senator is to try to get accountability, and most importantly, to try to get for my constituents the resources that they need moving forward. We need transparency, and that hasn't happened here. We've had several press conferences from the local entity of law enforcement, which is DPS, the Department of Public Safety. We've gotten some answers, and we've gotten some bad answers. We've gotten information that the next day turns to be different. We've gotten, we've got fingers pointed at teachers. We've seen that that teacher's now been vindicated. She did indeed remove the rock from the door and close the door. We know that the door did not function properly. We've seen a finger pointed at the local ISD police chief. And certainly, I think that Mr. Arredondo, whom I do not know, has a lot of responsibility to bear here, as does every law enforcement unit that was at that property, at that school. In my conversations with Colonel McGraw, he has affirmed that same concern, that law enforcement failed here, not just Officer Arredondo. My specific questions have been this: who were the 19 officers in that hallway? And I suspect, I was told that I would get that information on Friday. As of yesterday, I was told that I might not get that information on Friday because the district attorney has asked that that information be withheld because of her ongoing criminal investigation. At the end of the day, I don't believe that the logistics and the situation at hand has anything to do with the criminal investigation at hand. I've made that very clear to Colonel McGraw. As of 2 hours ago, He told me that I would still get that information tomorrow. Once I get that report, I will submit it to your news agencies so that you could know which 19 officers were in that hallway and what officers were outside. I have also asked for radio transmission reports, but I doubt that those will be forthcoming anytime soon. I have taken upon myself, and I think that this will change your understanding a little bit about some of the circumstances. And the fact is, we haven't been told this. Well, before I tell you this next piece, I've asked Colonel McGraw and others to simply pull this Band-Aid off and let us know everything that went on, guarding, of course, the sensitive nature, because we don't want to shock families. But we need to know what law enforcement was doing, what radio procedures were followed or what not followed, who were the 911 operators and such. And so here's what I know about 911. We were told last week that Officer Arredondo was the recipient of 911 calls. And I believe you could nod in the affirmative if that's your understanding. That he was the incident commander, and I heard in one of these conferences that he was the sole recipient of 911 calls. According to the Commission on State Emergency Communications, who monitors all 911 agencies throughout this state, the only 911 responders in this community, or the call centers, if you will, they're called public safety answering points. In this instance, it was Uvalde Police. They do not, and the state authority does not know who Uvalde Police was communicating the 911 calls to. What we do know is that the 911 calls were not being communicated to the so-called incident commander, Officer Arredondo. They were being communicated to a Uvalde police officer, and the state agency that I have spoken to has not told me who that is. From that point, Uvalde PD has 17 different dispatches that they would make to a list of 17 contacts. The state authority does not have that list, but DPS is one of the people on that list. My last remaining question on 911 calls is who is receiving the 911 calls from the little boys and girls? Is it just PD or is it these other entities? I was told that it was just PD. I think that that's an important point. Listen, I'm not blaming the Uvalde PD. I'm not blaming the ISD cops or the troopers or anybody singularly. Let me correct that. There is blame enough here to go around. There was human error and there was system error. Systemically, some of you have asked for radio transmissions. Systemically, we live in rural Texas, where different counties and different entities contract with different radio companies, and we don't have them talking to one another on one uniform system. That's an absence of leadership. It starts at the top. It starts with the legislature. Everybody's to blame for what went on, including Greg Abbott in a very big way. On some level, even including me, who didn't yell loud enough. I'll hold for any questions that you might have.
So can you just talk about in that hallway with the 19 people? Have you gotten any information about who was the officers that were in the hallway? I would assume there would have been Uvalde police officers there in that hallway.
The first report that you got was correct. There were 7 officers distributed between Uvalde PD and ISD. But I don't recall if it was 4 of one and 3 of the other. My biggest concern was at 12:03 when there was 19 officers for 45 minutes in a hallway that didn't do anything. My subsequent question was how many DPS officers, and last week I was told 2. As of this week, I've been told that in that period of time, it was between 2 and 13 officers fluctuating in and out. I expect this report tomorrow, and I hope I get it after this communication to you. that will shed light on exactly what agencies are here at that time. You got to understand that as a policymaker, I have particular concerns with a policy that has spent $4 billion along our border. We spent a lot of time and effort taking immigrants down to a facility where no one knows where they are, where they sit in jail for 6 months at a time, 7 months at a time, while Texas taxpayers are paying for them. We have our own little mini Guantanamo Bay. And yet all that law enforcement that's here to give tickets and gather up those folks didn't adequately perform. And I love my state troopers, I really do. I think that the guys that I know are really great people, and as a body, I think that they're a body that really cares. Steve McCraw and I have shared a lot of tears together on the phone. We have all failed. There's been a lot of failure here. To the one family that I've spoken to whose daughter was shot one time only, who likely bled out, I can only say we are sorry. But before I answer the next question, I suspect, and I urge you, to not allow these people to hide behind a district attorney investigation on procedural matters. Do not allow anybody, do not allow this governor to hide behind the local district attorney on these procedural failures, on these policy failures, under the guise that we're looking at a criminal investigation. We keep this story going because we need change. Yes, sir.
So just to confirm, you're under the impression that Arredondo did not know that there was 911 calls coming from inside of
I'm not under the impression. I was told specifically by the Commission on State Emergency Communications. My question specifically was, does the ISD police officer on duty know about the calls? I was specifically told no.
But wait a second, sir. We don't know that Arredondo wasn't hearing that on other officers' radios or chief.
I have no doubts that Arredondo was the so-called incident commander. I have no doubts about that. I'm telling you that he did not have privy, and I'm not covering him, by the way.
What I'm saying to you is we don't know what the chief of the police department. We're assuming he was on scene. Is that do you know if he was on scene? Chief of the local.
I do not know. As you know, the local police are not accountable to me. Only the state troopers, agencies like the Commission on State Emergency Communications, just like you've been investigating and tracking people down. It is sad that I have had to do the same. It is sad that I have had differing answers. I expect and I hope that tomorrow, that not only that they give me a report, it's my hope that they come out here and give you one final briefing on everything that they can and pull this Band-Aid off so you can all go home. So that they can at least tell you there'll be a final report a year from now. But they should tell you what they know now. And I'm sorry that I have so little to be able to tell you, and the only new light that I can tell you is that 911 calls go through PD, and that's something that you haven't been told.
Senator, you mentioned obstruction in the investigation. Who are you accusing of obstruction?
Not accusing anybody of obstruction. And maybe that was wrong. I'm suggesting to you that maybe I wrongly worded it. We haven't had much clarity. That's probably a better way to put it. We have been told one thing one day, another thing the next. A lot of finger pointing. That's a real concern to me.
En español, ¿cómo define la investigación y qué es lo que más le preocupa?
Esta investigación ha sido una investigación basada en errores humanos y errores de sistema. Con el favor de Dios vamos a poder llegar a un punto donde nos den todas las respuestas necesarias para que el público sepa lo que sucedió aquí en esta comunidad, porque esta comunidad merece saber la verdad. Estos oficiales no actuaron bien. Ya sabemos que la persona que están culpando, que él no tenía el privilegio de tener las llamadas del 911, como nos han dicho o no nos han dicho. La semana pasada, and towards this obstruction that you suggested last week, we were told that the 911 calls were going through the incident commander. That simply is not the case. If he's the incident commander, he did not receive 911 calls.
But he should have been receiving them, right?
System failure, exactly. You're exactly right, Shimon.
But other officers are on the scene that were receiving them. So
And there, Shimon, is the human error that we've been discussing. Those officers were likely.
You have been listening to State Senator Roland Gutierrez, who represents the Uvalde area, holding a press conference expressing his deep frustrations about the situation surrounding the school.
Expect that they should give us that answer because you deserve that answer. You've asked for radio transmissions. I imagine that they might come from different types of systems. You've got Motorola, there's another company.
So the suggestion that a miscommunication between agencies led to what is now 21 people dead.
I can tell you, I don't want to make suggestions. I want to tell you what I know. The UPD, Uvalde PD, was the one receiving the 911 calls for 45 minutes while officers were sitting in a hallway 19 officers were sitting in a hallway for 45 minutes, and those calls weren't being, and here's another question we don't know. We don't know if it was being communicated to those people or not.
But let me ask you, wouldn't you expect if they're all sitting in the same hallway, aren't they hearing the other guy's radios going off if there's kids calling from inside? Wouldn't that make sense to you?
That is absolutely my expectation. That is absolutely my expectation. And what we've done here today will leave more unanswered questions. And I am just as befuddled as you are.
Senador, ¿cree que la gente de Uvalde puede seguir confiando en su policía, creyendo en su policía?
La gente de Uvalde necesita tratar de sanar un poco y cuando estén listos ellos deben de tener su contabilidad de este concilio, de este alcalde, de estas personas que trabajan aquí porque merecen las respuestas.
So what are you looking for most in this report?
I want to know where the cops were in that room. I want to know how many of my cops were in there, how many state troopers were in there. I want to know how many state troopers were outside. I want to know how many federal officers were inside for 45 minutes. Listen, I'd have been scared too. I want to know specifically who was receiving the 911 calls. And now the new news is that it wasn't the ISD cop, it was the PD cop. And that's the new news that I have, which has opened up a whole lot more for you. I know there was a question over here first.
You talked about how Republican constituents have said that they want the minimum wage to buy an AR-15 to be increased. Have you talked to your Senate colleagues, Republican colleagues, is there appetite for to do that?
I've asked a few of my colleagues, and a few of them have anonymously told me that makes sense and that's something that we need to do.
From the microphone, sorry.
I've asked a few of my Republican colleagues, and they have called me wishing their condolences, and they've said that they don't want to be mentioned, they want to be remaining anonymous, but they say that raising the age limit makes sense. Of course it does, along with a host of other things.
Regarding the committee, Senator.
What are your thoughts about the committee makeup that Dan Patrick chose and how you are not on that committee and there's only 2 Democrats?
Listen, I spoke for 2 hours with the Lieutenant Governor yesterday. He has assured me that I'll have access and I'll be able to ask all the questions that I want. I do think, if this is a specific request of the governor, then shame on the governor. If those members are the specific members that he chose, at the end of the day, it is a slap in the face to the Latinos of this community, to everybody in this community. It is a slap in the face to the people of El Paso, and it is a slap in the face to the people of Santa Fe.
Senator, have you been in contact with the chief in the last couple days?
Chief's not under my jurisdiction. I don't know him.
Senator, have you gotten any indication that the city police chief ever tried to take command of the situation at the school? Was he at the scene as far as you've been able to gather? Did he do anything to take over command from Arredondo?
Yeah, that's a very good question that I don't know the answer to because these folks have yet to pull off that Band-Aid. The last thing that I'll tell you with regard to this is, you guys tonight, when you get on your news media tonight, you tell these people to pull off the Band-Aid on the procedural errors and let's have some answers tomorrow on this because we deserve them. And I apologize that if my news today was minimal, but again, the 911 calls were being received by a different entity. I felt that that was important enough to know here, not because I want to blame that entity. There was error at every level, including the legislative level. Greg Abbott has plenty of blame in all of this. And I'm not politicizing this. This is a problem that is facing this community. 6, now 7 massacres. This is enough, man. Raise the age limit. Have a red flag. Where's the human decency of a gun salesman to go off and call the police when he has a kid go in, buy guns, buy ammo the next day, buy another gun? Where's the human red flag? Because the only thing that happens on the border when some kid is doing that, he's either going to kill somebody or sell them to the cartels. Both of those things are illegal. Where's the human decency?
Senator, when it comes to the special legislative session that you and your colleagues are calling for, obviously it hasn't been called yet, but with a red Senate, a red House, and a red governor, what are your hopes that you can actually instigate and make change, if there even is a legislative session that's held this year?
Clearly, Abbott is going by the same move, hiding behind his desk and waiting for you guys to leave town. So I'll put that on you. Today is day 74 from school starting. Tomorrow's day 73, the next day 72. In a month from now, we'll be at day 40-something. I'm going to put that on you. Put the pressure on them. Because my hope, I'll tell you what my hope is. I'm in this business, I'm in this profession because people ask me to fix problems. When I became a city councilman, I gave them sidewalks in a community that desperately needed them. We built a library in a community that desperately needed it. People elect public servants to fix things. So Greg Abbott can't even fix the smallest thing here. 18 to 21, when 80% of his constituents are saying that makes sense. So what's the damn problem?
Senator, do you think this is going to change people's voting opinions here in the state?
And I apologize for raising my voice to you. Do I think what?
Do you think that this is going to change how people vote in Texas?
You know, I don't know. I'm advocating for a little, tiny, simple gun reform. The first thing, raise the age limit. The second thing, have a waiting period. A lot of you were pulled off last night because of a gunman in Oklahoma. Now, he was 40-something, but he bought the gun yesterday. He bought the damn AR-15 yesterday. Different state. A waiting period might have been nice, right? Republicans and my Republican colleagues will not do red flags, and I do not know why. I have yet to get a rational explanation. I'm going to give them one better. Have a 10-day waiting period, set up a Texas-sized ATF, and have state agents go and investigate the people that are buying these weapons. Simple. It's not a red flag. It's just a license, like when you drive a car. You have to take an exam.
¿Quién cree que debe responder por estas fallas? Tiene que haber una acusación criminal. En español, por favor.
Mira, estas fallas empiezan con el gobernador. Punto y final. Ya llevamos 7 masacres. Punto y final con Greg Abbott. Cargos criminales, eso no es mi puesto. Eso no es mi cargo. Mi cargo es de buscar transparencia. Al fin del día, estos oficiales hicieron errores humanos, hubo errores del sistema y hubo errores legislativos. El público en Texas tiene que cambiar y tiene que demandar acción.
You talked to the family of the child let out. What did they say to you? Did they criticize the police response?
Look, I talk to them just about every other day, pretty often here lately, and they're becoming good friends. I need to know that my constituents here that were directly affected just need to know that they've got a new friend. We're going to try to get them all the victim assistance money that the county and city have collected for them because it's their money. We found in Sutherland Springs, those folks only got about 30% of those funds. That's my big concern. These are working class families that are making $10 an hour, you know. They're not college graduates. They don't have $50,000 in the bank. They need assets now. So I'm going to make sure that they have transparency at every level so that we can distribute. These are good people. The county judges assured me that they're going to get those distributions. My only urge and request to them is that we do it as fast as possible, that we begin giving immediate distributions to these families.
Senator, when it comes to, you said you spoke to Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick for 2 hours yesterday.
About an hour and a half.
What is it that he said to you as to why you're not on this committee? Because you do represent, are the senator for this district, representing, in theory, representing these people.
That's a good question. And Dan Patrick and I have a good relationship. I should probably leave it there at that. But I think that there is a concern, or at least a contention, that I might be politicizing an issue. And I'm going to answer you like this. This issue is political. I'm a public policy maker. And we need to come up with a political answer. And the political answer is change the age, is a 2-digit answer from 18 to 21. It's a 2-digit answer. It's a 2-digit answer. It's a 10-day waiting period. And yes, protect our schools. Protect our schools. And let me answer this constituent, please. Protect our schools too. And I want to tell him this, and I want to tell you this. In 2019, we voted for $100 million in school hardening. They're very proud of it. That is a piss poor drop in the bucket. Greg Abbott has spent $4 billion, 40 times more along the border right now to have cops go up and down these streets. 40 times more. And yes, sir, protecting our schools. Mental health, yes, sir. Fund it properly. We haven't done that either.
I thought that the money from the lottery was supposed to be for schools.
Well, you know, I'll answer you in a minute, I promise you. And yes, it does go to our schools, but it's so small an amount, it's not enough. It's not enough.
Senador, en español, si me puede contestar, ¿por qué no fue seleccionado para este comité especial legislativo?
Pues la realidad es que el vicegobernador, él piensa que estoy politizando, thank you, politizando este punto. Esto es póliza pública que tenemos que cambiar. A mí no me importa quién voy a doler o quién va a quedar sentido, cuál republicano o cuál gobernador siente que lo he insultado. No me importa. Requerimos acción. Ya.
¿Qué cambios quiere ver?
Ya lo dije. Subir a 18 años, a 21 años. Tienes que tener 21 años para comprar una pistola, pero puedes tener 18 para comprar una arma de este tipo. Eso no tiene sentido. Un tiempo de espera de 10 días y una agencia estatal que investigue quién está comprando estas armas, que les dé una licencia para que esto no suceda de nuevo.
Last question.
What do you want to tell parents in schools how they can protect their children until war reform happens?
God,
What lessons should they have learned?
that's the hardest damn question. I don't want to say anything snippy. This is not a day for snide comments or snide remarks. What I want to tell parents of schools is you don't want to have to go through what these people are going through. You don't want to have to go through what these people are going through, I promise you. You don't want to have to go through what these people are going through. You don't want to have to bury your fourth grader. You don't want to have to bury your fourth grader. That's not normal. They're supposed to bury you, not the other way around. And what I want to tell those parents is to go online and find the governor's number. I don't have it on me, I apologize. And call him every day for the rest of this summer. And tell him to, at the very least, raise the age limit so that some punk doesn't go into the store down the street like a 7-Eleven and buy 2 AR-15s in 2 days. You don't want to have to go through what these parents are going through. I promise you that.
Senator, I have a question.
Last question, I gotta go.
I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
It's been affected with our family, friends, but how many kids are we going to lose before they do change the laws? Okay? We've had traffic lights go up because a kid crosses over, gets run over within months. We've had how many kids lost?
Ma'am,
Is it going to be when it affects one of their family members? When they will jump hoops to change these laws?
I think you need to
Maybe
elect
so.
people that will change them.
Is that what it's going to take for them to be affected?
Right. The only thing I can tell you, ma'am, I mean, this will be political. Latinos need to go vote.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Latinos need to go vote. And don't be bamboozled by the guys that tell you that we're having a special session, because they're not. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.